Coach, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, well, after a tough May, 7 games in the space of a month, it's been nice to have a couple of days off at the start of the week and for the players to mentally and physically regroup and recover. I think everyone's in a bright and positive mood, as you may expect. So, a bit of time with the families, a bit of time to relax, given the opportunity. But we've been in since Wednesday and working well towards our next challenge, which is obviously a tough June, starting off with Dallas away.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Ben Ryan on the floor and then head to the Zoom. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, you guys are pretty familiar with Dallas, probably more so than most of the other Western Conference teams. What have you seen from them this season? You played them a couple games ago in the Open Cup, but what are you kind of expecting from Saturday?
I think they've been very bright and purposeful in the Western Conference. I mean, they sit in a very decent position. The thing that jumps out of the page always is that attacking trio up top. I know they're without Areola at the moment, but I think the guys, Ferreira and Velasco and O'Brien have certainly O'Brien's filled those shoes very, very well. And that front group are bright, got good connections. There's a real threat from all of those guys, and at home especially, and we've been there, of course, last year. We had a very difficult game against them last year. They play that field well. It's a tighter stadium. You can expect, of course, this time of year a bit of humidity, so they'll be used to that. Fortunately, it's kicked in for us over the last few days, so we're starting to acclimate to that. But I think all in all, they're always a good footballing side, with some omissions, 1 or 2 injuries, but I watched them last night and had a tough result in Kansas, but I thought gave a good account of themselves. They look great going forward and were undone on a couple of occasions going back the other way. But, we'll expect a very upwardly mobile and positive display from Dallas for sure.
And then I know you've had a lot of questions about Randall and Walker, but how are they looking, and does having a full week of training or a full week off without a game when the rest of the league kind of played midweek, does that kind of help get them ready for this weekend?
Yeah, I think you can see from the weekend, 2 guys were in slightly different positions. Randall gets on for 20 minutes or so, plus injury time, which is a step up, obviously, from where he's been. Part of his progression is just making sure that he is in the right place. He's been out a good while now. He's had a reoccurrence of a problem, which is always a little bit more of a difficulty. But he's trained well. It's that match sharpness and getting back into the cut and thrust of league games that's going to be the key for Randall now. Walker had more of a cameo appearance. It was something that I was surprised to see. He wasn't due to be ready until this weekend. So when I was told that we might be able to get 10 minutes out of him just to get him moving and to be part of the group, of course I jumped at it. But he's had a good week's training himself and he's in a decent place.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. We'll go to Tim Sullivan and then Valère. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, a little bit more about Walker. You've obviously not had him for the better part of a month now. He was named to the Nations League roster earlier this afternoon. Are you concerned with how little you've gotten out of him, not only over the month of May there, but knowing that you're going to be without him probably for a game or 2 coming up next month?
When you miss a player like Walker and the calibre of the individual, it's always a loss. What we know, though, is that he's an integral part of the US group, and when fit, we should always expect that we're not going to see him for that period of time, and that really is what a roster and a squad is all about. My big concern, of course, is that he has been out and without an awful lot of playing time. When anyone goes away, and we're going to lose players as other teams are to Gold Cup as well, Whenever they go away, there's always that worry that they're not going to come back in one piece. And the likelihood is if they're going away, then they're pretty important pieces of the group playing for their national teams. So it'll be no different on this occasion. Walker's an experienced guy. You know, he's not only been around the league for a long time, but he's been part of the setup for a long time. And I would think if things are not right, then he will speak up. He's no shrinking violet in that sense. So I'm confident as long as, you know, this week finishes up well, that if he's on his way after the game against Dallas, then I'm sure he's in the right place and he'll be looked after.
Go to Valer, then Claudio. Go ahead, Valer.
Hey Gary, with the European season nearing an end and the transfer window nearing to be open, do you feel as you, Mike, and the club are on the same page in terms of targets and everything the transfer window brings with it?
Totally. I think we always have been. You know, there's always going to be from the coach, can we? Is there? You know, I'd like to have, but that's why, you know, you have somebody like Mike in the group around Mike that are obviously looking at the cap and some of the financials that go with that. Look, we're constantly having dialogue and discussing what options are out there, what moves could be made, what the situation is in certain areas. And, you know, at the moment, there's some positive chatter. You know, I don't think committing to anything at this point, either verbally or otherwise, would be the right thing anyway. But, you know, it makes all the sense in the world to always keep up to speed with who's out there, who could help, what other teams, whether it's internationally or domestically, are looking to maybe make some changes. How does that affect our group? And are we in a position to even be part of that conversation? So there's an awful lot that goes into bringing a player in. It's not just a case of me saying, well, I really like player A, let's go and get him. So as far as we're concerned, we're in a good spot. We're all on the same page, and we'll see what the you know, the summer window brings.
Go ahead, Claudio.
Gary, I meant to ask you this question after the game on the victory on Sunday, and I think it fits even better now. Nashville was always under your coaching a team that was very difficult to beat, but especially when the team was ahead, it was very difficult to tie the games, and even worse, even more difficult to actually defeat Nashville, especially at home. It seems like, I don't know if this will be your opinion as well, that there has been a transition on this team where now you not only take leads early in games and keep them, and even sometimes like last Sunday, even when teams start looking bad at the very beginning, the team is able to come back and rather well and beat anybody any day. Is that something that is as easy or as difficult to conquer away than when you're in Jody's?
Yeah, all away games are really, really tough, Claudio. You know that in this league. It's the very best opportunity for most teams to be bagging points. There's all sorts of factors that go into travelling away, as we've discussed multiple times. From the travel, to the surface, to the climate, to the fans, to, you know, sleeping in a hotel bed and not being around your family, whatever it is. So, you know, to overcome that on a regular basis, it takes an awful lot of character and spirit from the players involved. I think, to your point, the last couple of games, of course, we've come from behind. I would attest to the actual, you know, fibre and determination of the team, and I think this is something we've seen in the past from our group. But I think what we're seeing right now, with a little slight shift in the way that we play, is, a bigger growth pattern and development within the confidence of the team and the connections within the team. The additions of guys like Fafa and Jacob and Shaq, of course, have helped the group and given us a totally different dimension. And I don't think we should overlook the fact that the pace that those guys bring really have started to open up, more opportunities for the likes of Hany and, Teal and the attacking bodies in general. But I do think it's the confidence and the belief within the group. And that comes, of course, through winning games, recovering games, coming from behind to get a point in tough situations, overcoming challenges in general. And we've seen a lot of them in the past. But in the most recent times, I think we're now seeing a group that really do believe in themselves. They're confident in the players around them. And if you look at the group that we have in general, and I will touch wood, the team's healthy. We've got good balance. We've got good depth. And I think that can only be helpful when you're going into the summer months. And long may that continue, of course.
Thank you, Coach. Do we have any follow-ups for Coach Smith? Go ahead, Tim.
Gary, we talked a little bit about this on Sunday and then, after the Open Cup game as well, but you guys have been at home so much over the early stages of the season now, beginning a road-heavy portion of the slate here. How does that affect your preparation over the course of the week, but specifically for this Dallas game coming up in a couple days?
Well, I don't think any of them are too bad, Tim, when you've got a full week or the best part of a week to prepare. The challenges for all teams are those midweek games when you've got travel involved as well. And I do know that we run into, I think, a very long week when we go Montreal and Columbus. So those games have got a different dynamic to them, a different edge where, you've got back-to-back games, you're on the road, you're not in your own facility. So it can be a little bit more challenging for sure. But we're also getting to the point in the season where there are a lot of things about the group that you'd like to think are not going to change too dramatically. There have been some shifts and some subtle changes to the group, be that through personnel or what we're trying to achieve in the game, but not, major changes that probably need some time on the training field. But even that being said, we've got a couple of weeks here where if I believe that with the loss of some players, we might need to adjust a couple of things, then I think I've got a little bit of time in this early part of the month to affect that. So, the travel's always difficult. Nothing's going to be anywhere near as bad as those 8 games last year, trust me. So, this is a cakewalk compared to that.
What have you seen from them this year, and what are you expecting on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Dallas is a solid team. They have a lot of quality offensively, but we know about their weakness, and we need to play our game. We should concentrate on us, not too much on them. They have a lot of quality players in their team, but we are on a good stretch, and we need to continue where we end off.
A lot of kind of the talk around MLS is that it's one of the hardest leagues to go on the road, just around the world. You guys have played at home a lot recently. Form has been really good. How do you kind of approach this next stretch of games where you're going on the road, and how do you kind of try to maintain that form?
Yeah, it's very difficult, I think, in general, to play on the road here in MLS with the flights, with the different weathers, and all that kind of stuff. But I think we have to concentrate on us. We need to make sure what made us strong in the last games, in the home games, and we need to be aggressive even if we are on the road.
Awesome. We'll start at the Zoom with Tim, and Tim's going to give me a thumbs up when he's done. Go ahead, Tim.
Hany, voting for the All-Star game opened, I think, today, maybe yesterday. Obviously, you and Walker both participated in it last year, but give me a sales pitch for one of your teammates who's not Walker and not you, obviously, in terms of a guy that you think should get recognized by the public and voted into the All-Star game?
Yeah, for sure. Joe Willis this year. I think like I felt like for me personal, he got better every year, and I'm very proud of him. The team is proud of him. He saved us a lot of points, and I think he's definitely right now one of the best in the league.
And then as you look towards, this stretch of the season coming up, you guys have been mostly at home so far this year, kind of the opposite of what you guys dealt with last year. What are you, I guess, kind of expecting to change in terms of your preparation as you guys go on a pretty road-heavy stretch here going forward?
I think in my 3.5 years here, we didn't have as much problems as people would think on the road, because we are pretty good in transition. That's one of our strengths, and I think most of the home teams, they want to keep the ball, and that fits our system pretty well. So we know that we have a lot of games on the road, but we need to continue getting points.
Awesome. We'll go ahead next with Valère, then Claudio. Go ahead, Valère.
Hey, Hany, this season you've started off kind of, for the team as a whole, started off, somewhat inconsistent, but you've hit a stride, and it seems like the team is performing really well. You're sitting second in the Supporters Shield rankings right now. The question here is, what do you think is needed from the players, the coaching staff, and the club as a whole to keep this going throughout the season and continue this amazing form?
Yeah, I think we need to keep the level and practice high. We need to, remind ourselves week in, week out, what makes us strong, our philosophy, how we want to play, and it's always a fine line, even though we won last week 3-1, if Joe didn't save the ball, it's in the end, bicycle kick, it's maybe a 2-2, in the end. So it's always like 1-2-3% fine line where you always have to be on the top of your level, because there's not a big difference between most of the teams. So we need to concentrate. We need to give everything. We need to have the right mindset, and then attack the game.
And then in terms of the scheduling, it looks like now it's kind of slowing down to where there's only one game a week for a little bit. Do you prefer that to the 2 games a week? We've seen kind of both, where players like to play more often or kind of have a longer break.
I definitely prefer more games than training sessions, but it's fine. Sometimes it's good to practice a little more, to get a couple of things going, what we're trying to achieve.
Awesome. Go ahead, Claudio.
Hany, you might give any thought to the MVP, especially this early in the season. Maybe not at all. However, it's good conversation among many circles in the league, among fans, especially after the fans were chanting MVP again last Sunday at the game. My question goes this way. Last season, you and Sebastian pretty much took over that competition until the very end. And now it seems like this time there's more people involved. Is that what you see also? And also, part of the conversation is, well, Hany doesn't seem like he seems reluctant to give it away. Is that true?
So, say that again, the last part?
Well, it seems like that most of the conversation is that Hany seems to be reluctant to give the MVP away.
What is that?
Like you don't want to give it away.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the biggest player achievement you can achieve. I think my goal was it from the beginning, to even play a better season than last year, and I still believe that I can play better than last year, and I'm on a good run now. You have to go game by game. It's a long season. First of all, you have to stay healthy. That's the most important thing. That when you miss 10 games, it's a little difficult to win the MVP award. So, you have to stay healthy. You have to stay on top of your game, and it's hard. Like I said, with the teams, there's just a fine line. It's the same with players, you know. People think there's such a big difference between players, but most of the time it's like a very, very small percentage which makes a difference. And sometimes it's how you sleep, how you recover, you know, how your mindset is towards the next game, you know, how you attack the game. So there are very fine lines, and I think there are so many talented players in this league. So I just try to do my best, score goals, give assists, you know, and be successful with Nashville, and then it will come by itself.
Would you give it to Hany right away if you were to make that decision at this point?
Luckily, I don't have to make this decision.
Thank you, Claudio. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, we will get this footage to you out in the coming hours. We look forward to seeing you guys after the Dallas game. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.